morning. Let's read from Jonah again, and we're going to read the same passage as yesterday. The sailors took Jonah, from verse 15 of chapter 1, and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. And at this the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord, and made vows to him. But the Lord provided a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was inside the fish 3 days and 3 nights. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed to the Lord his God. He said, "In my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From the depths of the grave I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the deep, into the very heart of the seas, and the currents swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I've been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me. The deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. But you brought my life up from the pit, O Lord my God. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols forfeit the grace that could be theirs. But I, with a song of thanksgiving, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed I will make good. Salvation comes from the Lord." And the Lord commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. As I'm thinking about Jonah, I'm reading Tim Keller's book, The Prodigal Prophet. So I read each chapter, as well as a few other commentaries more briefly. I just heard that Tim Keller has pancreatic cancer and is getting treatment, so it'd be good to pray for him if you get the chance. But Tim Keller quotes, I think, from Corrie ten Boom when he says, "You never realize that Jesus is all you need until Jesus is all you have." You never realize that Jesus is all you need until Jesus is all you have. Corrie ten Boom was held in a German concentration camp in the Second World War for assisting Jews. She lost her liberty, all she had. So she's qualified to say that you never realize that Jesus is all you need until Jesus is all you have. As we think about Jonah in chapter 1, verse 1, goes down to Joppa to escape God. Verse 3, Jonah goes down to Joppa. And then the Lord hurls a mighty wind up on the sea that threatens to break the ship up, and the sailors hurl the cargo of the ship into the sea to lighten the boat. The same words are being used, but Jonah, at that point, he's gone down into the inner part of the ship and is fast asleep. Jonah's going down? Then in chapter 1, verse 12, Jonah tells the sailors to hurl him into the sea, like a piece of cargo, in order to quieten the storm. And that's what the sailors do. In verse 15, Jonah is hurled into the sea like a sack of potatoes. And he goes down into the sea, the realm of chaos and darkness. But the Lord is in control. He has appointed a great fish to swallow Jonah, just as he will appoint a vine in chapter 4, verse 6, a worm in 4:7, and a scorching east wind in 4, verse 8. He is in control. And Jonah is in the fish 3 days and 3 nights, and from inside the fish he prays. And he feels like he's in the depths of Sheol, chapter 2, verse 2. It's the place of the dead. He's been thrown into the depths of the seas by God himself, down to the roots of the mountains. You see the progression: down to Joppa, down onto the ship, down into the ship, down to the roots of the mountains, the depths of Sheol, the bottom of the sea, in the belly of the fish. Jonah is heading down, and the Lord has appointed all that is happening to teach Jonah a lesson that he needs to learn. He has brought Jonah down and down and down until there's no further to go. And now at last Jonah prays to the Lord God in his distress. Tim Keller writes, if Jonah was to begin finally to ascend, both in the water and in faith, He had to be brought to the very end of himself. The way up was first of all down. The usual place to learn the greatest of secrets of God's grace is at the bottom. But it's not simply being at the bottom that begins to change Jonah, but prayer at the bottom. That's what Tim Keller writes. Jonah changes when he realizes that there's nowhere else he can go if he's going to live other than back to God. And he throws himself on God's mercy at the end of his prayer. And his life, chapter 2, verse 6, is brought up from the pit. He realizes that even if after his grievous sin, salvation comes from the Lord. If you're a believer, you may still feel at times that you are heading down and down away from God, but He is in control. Your downward spiral may be loving discipline. If you're a believer, it's not judgment, because Jesus went down at the cross, so that we need not fear it. Tim Keller calls your downward travel a severe mercy. It's a wake-up call, an alarm bell. Your downward travel may be, like Job, a mystery, but still a lesson to teach you, to bring you back to your senses, back to God, to remember that salvation, Yeshua, Jesus, comes from the Lord. He can lift you up. You never realize that Jesus is all you need until Jesus is all you have.